Thanks, Cheryl, for beginning the recording. And just so everybody knows, this presentation panel discussion will be recorded. Uh, but looking forward to it. All right, Cheryl, we good to go? All right. So again, good evening, everyone. My name is Kyle Reeder. I'm with Rise Prince George's. Rise is a group of county residents and allies advocating for policies and practices that build shared sustainable prosperity that in Prince George's County by creating safe, walkable, inclusive, transit-oriented communities. Rise in collaboration with the Coalition for Smarter Growth and Cheryl Court, who's here with us this evening, will be helping out with this event. Cheryl, did you want to say hello?
Hello.
Great. So better bus service is one of the key topics that Rise Prince George's participants have identified as a priority. This event tonight gives us an opportunity to give our input and to learn more about how essential transit options can better support our communities. We know that bus service is especially important to low-income residents and people of color, and having safe, reliable, and an affordable system ensures equitable access to opportunities throughout our county. In addition, I'm excited to moderate this panel tonight because the bus is my mode of transportation. I live close to Capitol Heights Metro Station and certainly ride Metro Rail, but I'm on the bus daily to get me to most of the places that I frequent, including work, the doctor's office, and of course, my favorite restaurants and bars. For tonight's discussion, we have leaders from our transit agencies, both in WMATA and Prince George's. But to start things off, we've invited Delegate Jazz Lewis to say a few words. And we also want to congratulate Delegate Lewis on his re-election to the state. Delegate Lewis, did you want to share a little bit more about buses and why you're here tonight?
Happily. First, I want to thank my constituent, Kyle Reeder, for the intro. I serve the 24th Legislative District, which stretches on the northern end, which includes communities like Glendale and Woodmore and Fairwood and Lanham and Mitchellville. On the southern end of my district is communities like Suitland and Marlow Heights and Capitol Heights and Fairmont Heights and Seat Pleasant and Landover and so on. What's really exciting for my district right now is there's a lot of energy around transforming what's known as the Blue Line Corridor. And bus and transit is key to that. I think one of the challenges to growth for us is how do we move workers and people around this region effectively, I think from a cost side, but in a way that builds community and also builds wealth for the people who live there. One of my top priorities is expanding access to fresh and healthy food. And we have a lot of seniors and folks who don't necessarily have vehicles along the Blue Line Corridor. That is my district. And it makes it very hard for them to get regular access to healthy food for them and their families. Kyle actually has been a leader on this with the Capital Market and hosting food markets that can bring in food directly to the people. But we also need grocery stores, and we need ways to get people to those grocery stores and back effectively. And that's why I think this conversation is so key. We have, I think, over 9 operators throughout the region between Northern Virginia, Montgomery County, and Prince George's County. And I think the way we transform this region to be more transit accessible, that utilizes bus to get people to and fro effectively, almost like one larger system. May have 9 names, what have you, but operates essentially as one system for the betterment of all the people we serve. I think is the goal that we all want to reach. And I'm really interested in hearing what our partners who are here have to say. I'm a big fan of Rise Prince George's and the Coalition of Smart Growth. I work a lot with Team WMATA, so it's good to see you all here. You all own a lot of property along my district, which I'm hoping we can develop. And buses will be key to that. So thank you all so much for coming and making time today. And I hope you enjoy the conversation. So handing it off.
Thank you, Delegate Lewis. And I just wanted to say, Delegate Lewis has been a champion for District 24. We are extremely lucky to have somebody in Annapolis that really sees us and hears us and takes our issues straight to the legislator. So Thank you, Delegate Jazz, and congratulations again. So before we start and hear from our speakers, we do have a quick question and answer, if you guys don't mind. We have a poll to learn a little bit more about our audience. Cheryl, did you want to release the poll? So please take this poll and let us know your interest in Better Bus. We'll give about 30 seconds for folks to answer this question. There are 3 questions, or 3 questions. How often
Can
do
you
you
see
ride?
it?
Yeah, it just popped up on mine.
Okay.
So how often do you ride transit, bus or rail in the DMV? And before you submit, you have to scroll down if anybody is having any technical challenges. What does Better Bus Service mean to you as a Prince George's County resident? Pick 3. Confidence that we'll arrive on time. Buses go where I'm trying to go. And then the last question is, where would you like to use the bus to travel to that you can't do today? Shopping. All right, so we'll give about another 30 more seconds to a minute, give folks to answer those. And Cheryl, are we gonna go over those results now, or you wanna hold off?
Yeah, I'll end the poll and then it should show the results, I believe. Okay,
All right.
I think we're done. So let me end the poll and share results.
All right, yeah, so let's take a look. So it looks like a good portion of us use bus or the bus or the train about a few times a month, or don't ride. What does Better Bus Service mean to you as Prince George's County resident? Less wait for my bus. That's a big one. Confidence that I can arrive on time to my destination. Buses that go where I want to go. That's a big one, right? If it's not going where you want to go, what's the point of riding? Although I do get my best reading done on the bus or the rail. So sometimes I'm just sitting to enjoy the ride. And then the third question, let's see, where would you go if you, where would you like to use bus or travel to that you can't do today? Shopping, that's a big one in the county. And then also restaurants, cinema, and recreation. I definitely, those are my big ones as well. And again, thank you guys for participating in this poll. This feedback is, like I said, important as we're talking about our bus network. And
Hey, Kyle.
Yes.
Angela Wooten commented, that this didn't seem to be very applicable to her. If you want to chat your response of what you'd like to say, just put that into the chat and we'll capture that.
Yeah, definitely add that nuance in the chats, because like you said, the purpose of tonight's discussion is to hear from you all and to see what we need to do in order to improve our transit systems, particularly the bus. And so now that we've done the poll, I did want to introduce our speakers for the evening. We'll start with WMATA and Ms. Allison Davis, who is Metro's Vice President of Planning. She leads the planning office, guiding Metro's medium and long-term transit vision in transforming data into action. She has over 20 years of urban transportation policy and planning experience in creating and supporting alternative transportation methods. Good evening, Ms. Davis. Thanks for joining us. Should I introduce everybody, or should we kind of roll into WMATA's section, Cheryl? How did you want to do that? I'll just introduce. Okay, sorry about that. So I also want to introduce Ms. Raka Chetri. Raka has 20 years of planning experience at the intersection of land use and transportation in the DC region and abroad. And we want to thank WMATA for joining us today. And before we introduce DPWT, I think we should go into WMATA's presentation, and then I'll introduce the next, our DPWT panelist.
Sure. I'm just going to share my screen and find you again. Oh, there you are. All right. So hi, I'm Allison Davis. And again, thank you, Cheryl. Thank you, Kyle, for inviting us to participate. And again, Delegate Lewis, congratulations on your on your victory yesterday, and appreciate having an ally in transit and someone who really gets buses specifically, but rail as well. So we're here to talk to you about Better Bus, which is a new initiative that Metro has kicked off to really think about the network and service we provide. Raka is going to be talking to you about bus priority initiatives, about signals, lanes, that sort of thing. We have zero emission buses moving forward. We have many of different initiatives, so it's kind of all under that one umbrella. And it really, I get a lot of questions like, why bus? And it has been for a really long time kind of the second cousin to rail in this region, right? There hasn't been kind of that putting bus front and center and recognizing the value that bus does bring to the region. So I think we had put this together to kind of get everyone thinking about, the importance of bus, and it is that backbone to the transportation network. And, even like pre-pandemic, if we all think back to that time, all the bus organizations in the region, so Delegate Lewis had mentioned 9 of them, and they were carrying almost as many trips per day as Metrorail. So kind of putting that on par with Metrorail. And so that's really thinking about, who's using it, how are people getting around? And the beauty of bus is it gets into the neighborhoods. It gives you that access every couple of blocks so that you're able to really use it to go shopping, to do those shorter trips potentially that maybe rail is not able to serve. And then again, it really is a driver of economic opportunity. There are over 2 million jobs, retail, services that are within a quarter mile of our bus stops. So again, it's really kind of that value that bus brings to the region. So it's key to remember who's riding the bus, right? And I think these stats kind of help tell that story. But if you compare who rides Metro, these are all Metro bus stats versus Metrorail versus the region, but to show that, bus customers are 10 times more. Yeah.
I'm
Yes.
just seeing the first cover slide. Are people did you advance the
Oh, I
slides?
did advance the slide, but let me stop my share.
Did
Oh,
other
there we go.
people see other slides? Okay,
No. All right, let's try that again. Thanks, Cheryl.
it's a good cover slide.
It is a great cover slide. Yes. All right, we're gonna try this. And go. That's not what I wanted. All right, we're gonna share. All right, so are you able to see the second slide now?
No. Oh,
Yeah,
right.
there it
Yes.
is.
Yes.
Finally, yeah.
Perfect.
Okay.
All right. So let me talk at this, right? We've got a beautiful slide here. So we're gonna, so this is really highlighting, right, the number of trips that bus provides, the access and mobility of really who's able to get on board the bus as opposed to Metrorail, right? And making sure that that's super clear. And then, being able to meet the climate goals, being able to advance equity and justice for the region. So again, if you can't see something, let me know. But thinking about who's on board the bus. So these are all stats for Metro Bus and Metrorail, but it's really highlighting that those who ride the bus are significantly higher low income. They're 10 times more likely than people in the region to be low income. And by low income, we mean living in households of $30,000 or less. They are 5 times as likely to live in households with zero access to cars. So this is really the family car is the bus for so many people. And so thinking about how people are traveling and how people want to be using the bus is really key to thinking about, what we need to be doing to make buses better. We've done many surveys, and we're actually out with a survey right now to get input on priorities and where people think our investments for bus should be. And this was a survey we had done back in 2018, but these really kind of, the fact that people want frequency, reliability, and direct service, right, gets you where you want to go. And it goes to, for all of you who answered our survey and that second poll question that Cheryl posted, it was less wait time, so more frequent service, right? It was reliability, that's number 2, and then buses go where I want to go. So like, you guys fit all of this very well, but that's across all demographics all over the region. and like these are really the clear priorities. So our Better Bus initiative is really how do we rethink, redesign, and revitalize Metrobus, right? It does serve all of the local jurisdictions, you know, in the district, Montgomery and Prince George's County, and then across Northern Virginia. So there are lots of interests, there are lots of interested parties. So we're coming to you to really understand what that means to you in the county. But thinking about, you know, lots of priority lanes, modernization of our facilities, moving to zero emissions vehicles, that sort of thing. So all of that is kind of under that bucket. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the network redesign that is currently ongoing. And if you hadn't heard about the network redesign, this is a way to look at all the entire network that Metrobus operates. We're also partnering with Prince George's County and the bus. So we're redesigning the bus network, the buses network as well as part of this. But we really want to make sure that we haven't done a holistic look at our bus network for over 50 years, right? Like we do it every year where we're looking at this route or that route. But this is a way to look at the entire thing. Are we serving the right places, right? I mean, obviously in 50 years, this region has changed, right? Are we serving the right places? Are we connecting people where they want to go? Are we able to provide that access to opportunity? Are we serving people when they need to be going to jobs, when they need to be going to different services, right? Are we able to, you know, is it late night that people need? Is it better weekend service? So how do we structure that? And then, not gonna lie, looking at the bus network, it is not the easiest thing to understand, and people liken it with a bowl of spaghetti. So how do we make sure that it is something that people, that customers can look at and really figure out where they want to go, no matter where you are in the region? And then finally, how do we figure out how to sustainably and predictably fund the bus system? Because there are limited resources for all the work that we have. So we think about the outcomes, right? There's a lot of different ways we can structure what that network is, and we are just starting this work. But ultimately, at the end, we are designing a network and service plan to be implemented in our fiscal year 2025, which means starting July 2024. In that fiscal year, we will be implementing the new network that comes out of this effort. We're also building more aspirational. How do we think about the future? Where do we need to, you know, support the impacts of climate change? How do we really put the pedal down and address access to opportunity? Things that we can't necessarily do in 1 year. How do we give that multi-year look ahead? And then working with the county to really define our role, Metrobus's role versus the bus's role in each one of the counties. So again, it's really sitting there, and these images really kind of illustrate the trade-offs, right? We can have frequent service that will have, you know, maybe some transfers, or you kind of have coverage where you're hitting almost every street, but it's lower frequency because of course the resources are the same. And so it's just a question of how you're allocating and where you're serving. So like I said, we are kind of in the early phasing. We have a survey out now at the wmata.com/betterbus. It's open through Friday. But we will be conducting additional stakeholder engagement in April and May, and then again in August and September. So we will definitely be back, and please, you know, plug into our e-newsletter and follow us online. But that's where kind of we get to the first phase, thinking about existing conditions and where people are trying to travel to. Then how do we develop some options of networks and go back to asking people like yourselves to engage in that, and then moving on to what is actually going to be implemented. So for you, how you can get involved, and this is before I turn it over to Raka, how you can get involved, the website is wmata.com/betterbus. We have an e-newsletter. We do about one a month, maybe some months we'll get two, but we will not be spamming you with that information. But that'll help you kind of hear more about the work, why we're doing this, where we're going to be in terms of outreach and engagement. There's a survey that's, like I said, open through Friday. And then we've got a whole bunch of social media and ways that you can forward this information on to your communities. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Raka.
Yeah, Thanks, Allison. Stephanie has some comments in the chat, and maybe just want to mention that I've seen the comments, and maybe we can address it after my my presentation. So
Perfect.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. So I'm Rauka Chaudhary. I am Director of Bus Priority at Metro, and I will talk through what's coming in Prince George's County for bus priority. If you can go to the next slide, Allison. So let me talk a little bit about what bus priority is. You know, the network redesign is happening, and it's changing and modifying what's already in the network, but it's not going to totally reimagine where buses go, and some of the routes where we have buses now will continue. And I guess most of them will. Some of the major corridors will continue to have buses on them. So in the meantime, while the network redesign is happening, we have another team at Metro that's also moving some of these priority treatments along. And these bus priority treatments help improve bus speed and reliability. What's happening now on our streets is traffic congestion and signal delays, or a proliferation of bus stops, all impact free flow, and they slow down our buses. But for each of these, we have different treatments that can come in and help speed up buses. So where there's traffic congestion, and this is the thing that most of you are aware of as the bus priority treatment, it's dedicated bus lanes. You take a lane away from traffic, but give it to buses, and it speeds up buses, and then you can run more frequent service. And then you have to enforce it. At signals, you can do transit signal priority and queue jumps. There are different treatments again that help give buses a little priority and a head start at signals. So they speed them up slightly, but each intersection adds up and it saves you time. At bus stops, you can allow treatments like all-door boarding. So instead of boarding from just one door, there are multiple people are boarding at different doors, and you're saving time at each of these bus stops, which along the length of a route adds up and helps save time. So each one of these treatments saves a little time, but if you continue to build one on top of the other over a long corridor, you actually have plenty of savings. And that's something that we're trying to do, because right now, buses in Prince George's County are, I think, an average of 13 miles per hour for the entire county, which is better than DC, which is 9 miles per hour. But Prince George's County could also be faster. So moving on to the next slide, I want to talk about one priority project that we are working on. It is our first tactical bus lanes project. And it's a partnership that we have with MDOT-SHA and Prince George's County. It's what we are doing as final design for a demonstration quick build bus lane project in Suitland on Silver Hill Road. And why Silver Hill Road? It's there are over 12,000 bus riders on this corridor on an average weekday. There are 12 buses per hour. Metro speeds are really slow along this corridor, and they vary between 7 and 18 miles per hour. And 18 miles sounds good, but if one trip is 7 miles per hour and the next one is 18 miles per hour, you just have no consistency, and your trip is then unreliable. So helping improve that reliability is a big reason why we are trying to get to do some more of this bus priority treatments. And then the final reason of why Silver Hill Road, Prince George's County has a transitway systems planning study, and one of the corridors identified was Silver Hill Road. So with these tactical bus lanes where we are only using red paint and signage and no construction, riders can experience benefits faster. And then once we implement it, like it takes typically about 6 months to 2 years to build the tactical bus lane projects. Other projects take about 5 years. 16th Street bus lanes took about over 10 years. So tactical basically helps us get it done quickly. Riders experience benefits faster, And then you can tweak and modify and improve continuously, but you've got a project down and you can start demonstrating how this project is helping improve your bus trip. And then it helps jumpstart many more projects like that. And that's how we can improve the network for everyone. These are the extents of the Silver Hill Road project. It goes from the metro station to West Avenue. It's about approximately a mile long. And all we're doing again is painting the street red, the lane red, and dedicating it for buses. So that's how it looks now, and that's what you can see. There's like 3 travel lanes and a turn lane, and it's going to be 2 general purpose travel lanes and a bus lane in the design proposal. So next slide. So as I mentioned, most projects take really long. Tactical bus lane projects move faster. There are a lot of folks reviewing these plans. That which is part of the reason why it takes long. It's like it's us, design, then SHA has to review it. Prince George's County, this is SHA roadway, but we still want to align with everything that Prince George's County is doing. So they've been partners in this effort as well to make sure that it aligns with their plan. So it really is a lot of coordination and making sure that all the agencies that are required to review and approve have a chance to review it. So we began a design process in the summer of 2022. We had a public information session last week. And then we are hoping, pending construction, we are hoping, pending funding, we are hoping construction would begin in summer 2023. But before that, we'll come out, do some outreach so folks know what's happening. And construction is really the paint and the signage. And then we expect the lanes to open in fall 2023. And then over that 1 year, we will do some performance evaluation to make sure that it's performing as we expect it to, and see if there are any tweaks to be made or if it needs to be permanent, just the way it is designed. So that's kind of where we are with this project. And then I have some links here for the project website and the concept plans, which maybe I will drop in the chat. And I saw a lot of questions and conversation in the chat. So maybe I can pull that up.
Yeah, and Rocco, thank you guys for adding these questions. They're really good questions, and I've been taking note of them as they're coming in. And before we get to the questions, I did want to thank Allison and Rocco for their presentation. But we're going to let DPWT to give their presentation, and then we'll have one big collective conversation around the bus in Prince George's County. As folks know, WMATA isn't the only bus service that services the county. We have the bus, which is the Prince George's County bus system that is managed and operated by our Department of Public Works and Transportation. And I wanted to introduce our panelists from the agency, starting with Samaya Hackett, who is the Associate Director for Transportation at DPWT. And then I also wanted to introduce Ifan Ipanti, who is the Chief of Planning and Innovation at DPWT. Prior, he worked for Maryland Transit Administration, and you were the Director of Office of Mobility, Director in Fairfax County. Is that correct, Ifan?
Yes, prior to the county, I was with the state of Maryland MTA, where I was the Director of Mobility. And before that, I was with Fairfax.
No, awesome. So we're definitely excited to hear you and Samaya's thoughts. Did you guys want to share a little bit about what DPWT has been doing in relation to the bus and just bus service in the county?
Hi, sure. Thanks, Kyle. Thanks for the introduction. And thank you everyone for the invitation to share what the bus is doing with tonight's participants. One of our big initiatives at this time is the Prince George's County Transit Transformation Initiative. You may have seen on social media our link to our survey. We are partnering with WMATA in the Better Bus Network study. And we've created a survey that's an initial survey to outreach to our residents to find out what you think of transit and what transit actually means in the county. So that's a sub survey to what WMATA is doing, and we're excited to bring that forward. I think Ifan will share the link also in the chat so that you're able to share it with your networks as well. But as we talk about the Transit Transformation Initiative, we're really looking at this as the kickoff to several efforts that we'll be undertaking to do outreach and engage with the community so that we can define the transit expectations and the outlook of what the county will be providing for transit in the upcoming years. 3 goals are 3 facts that we're working, projects that we're working on right now is our zero emission bus program. We're excited. We launched that program in 2019, and we were recently awarded a $25 million low to no emission grant, which is a federal grant with the FTA. So we're excited to expand our program using that grant along with our 21 funding to purchase more battery electric buses, increase infrastructure in the county to charge those vehicles, to do facility improvements so that we will be able to maintain the vehicles, as well as developing a microgrid system where we'll be able to charge our vehicles efficiently without being a part of the grid. And we're also working transit oriented development enhancements at the New Carrollton Metro Station. That's a project that we're also working with WMATA, and that we received a $20.5 million grant for the multimodal transportation station that will include a new train hall for the existing MARC system, Metro Rail, and Amtrak services. So we're really excited to start growing transit and hearing from the community and being a part of tonight's discussion. We're fortunate to have Ifan on board, who's leading all of the major innovation initiatives for us, so he can really dig into the projects, what they mean, and where we're going.
Hey, thanks, Samaya. Thanks, Kyle, and Shirley for putting this together. And also thanks to WMATA for being a great partner and coming up with all these new initiatives and really trying to move bus transportation forward in the region. So we here as a partner for WMATA. We want to support WMATA. WMATA does quite a lot in terms of ensuring connectivity in the county, ensuring that the system is more accessible and equitable. So our initiative, the PGC Transit Transformation Initiative, is a project where we're also trying to hear from our citizens. As WMATA is working on conducting the Better Bus Network redesign, collecting data, doing the analysis and the planning studies, we thought it's also good for us to reach out to citizens, get information, additional information, and see how we can support the planning effort in a way that it speaks to what the needs are within the county, but also addresses some of the historical gaps in the county in terms of where transit is and what people actually need. So our goal is really getting information from the citizens and residents and visitors, and also use that information to inform the planning process that WMATA is currently working on. In addition to that, the PGC Transit Transformation Initiative it's really, as Samaya said, it's really coming at a great point. It's really, we usually like to say it's an inflection point for us in the county. There are a lot of different initiatives going on in the county. Samaya mentioned $25 million in loan funding for electric vehicles and infrastructure throughout the county. We have about $20 million that was awarded for the new Carrington metro station. The governor and the legislature gave almost $400 million for certain development in and around the county. So there's quite a lot going on in the county. And so with the convergence of all these development opportunities, the county executive is also pushing for housing, investment in housing in the county, affordable housing. The one one thing that links everything is transportation. Really connecting people to opportunity, connecting people to good jobs, and also making sure that the county residents, they're looking at transportation as something, especially buses, as something that brings economic development. So our goal here is to get out there, reach out to the community, talk to residents, and then help shape the future of public transportation in the county. So there's a lot going on in the county. We're looking for full engagement from our citizens, our residents, and businesses. One of the things that our senior leadership has really emphasized for us in the county is really going back into the community and hearing from the community. So we want to make sure that whatever we're putting out there in terms of our vision plan, in terms of the bus network redesign, we really want to hear from the people who are at the front line, the staff, but we also want to hear from the citizens, our customers, the riders, so that we can shape a vision that actually meets their expectations and their needs.
And thank you for that. And I did want to acknowledge Deputy Director Oluseyi Olubenye, who could not be here this evening due to being under the weather. So I did just want to say, just want to acknowledge her, and again, thank you, the DPWT, for being here today. So let's kind of shift into some question and answers, and just and I think my first question is kind of, people know WMATA for the most part, and people are in the county are comfortable, know the bus, right? But can you all kind of talk a little bit about how the two agencies work together, and kind of what is the difference in how you guys approach bus service in the county?
I guess I'll start, and unless Ifan, you want to go first, but.
Oh, no, go first.
Okay. Right. So so yes, we operate, both of us are operating in the county. And I think, a lot of it goes to something that we're looking to really highlight as part of this work, right? Like, we've partnered with Prince George's County for decades, right? And we meet. Ifan probably gets more meeting requests from me and Raka than he really needs. So we are consistently talking about not just the network redesign, but in an annual budget, what service changes are we making, fill in the blank for specific routes, right? So we are very much hand in hand partnering on the service that's out there today. And then as part of the network redesign, when we were scoping this work, we wanted to make sure that we provided we were able to partner with the jurisdiction. So we asked each jurisdiction and each bus provider, would you like us to kind of incorporate your service with Metrobus and look at the entire county wholesale? And so hats off to the county because they said, yes, please. So we are kind of hand in hand looking at where service needs to go. And I saw Stephanie, your question about Forestville. So I'm copying that into our notes, but that's the kind of information we really want, because a lot of times people think about transit just in terms of getting to work, right? And it doesn't necessarily mean that people work 9 to 5, right? Our customers on the bus, but it's also like, I mean, I do live in the district, but you know, I take the bus to go shopping, to go see friends. Like I'm using it for those, in some ways, like shorter trips, right? And so you want to be able to provide those types of services that you accurately highlighted in your comment, right? About here's where I want to go. And I don't want to just go to the metro. I want to go to, you know, the shopping center and, you know, whatever it is on those major corridors. So anyway, that was a long answer to a question, but we are partnering closely with the county on the network redesign.
No, thanks. And then Ifan, did you want to elaborate a little bit more on just kind of the DPWT and the bus? And
Yes, DPWNT is operates our local bus system in the county, the bus, and WMATA does local and also regional services. Some of it starts and ends within the county. I think one of the things that is different from our approach is that we're more narrow. We focus on just the county, and WMATA is a regional player, and WMATA really does the heavy lifting for us in terms of providing bus service in the county. And my numbers may be a little bit off. The WMATA provides almost about 60% of bus service in the county. So outside of the district, WMATA provides a significant amount of service within the county. And so we've traditionally relied on WMATA to do most of the bus service, the local plan, you know, bus service in the county. And that is something that we'll keep relying on, you know, into the foreseeable future. One of the things that the county is doing is really supporting the efforts that WMATA is doing in terms of improving bus operations and transportation in the county. And this includes being a good partner and working on the Better Bus network redesign. But we're also partnering with Raka's group, and we're working on the bus priority treatment on the Silver Hill Road area, trying to really make sure that some of these projects come to fruition. That is, you know, like the bus priority, the traffic signals and the queue jumps and everything that they're doing for the bus treatment. It's really going to showcase what we can do in terms of promoting high capacity transit in the county. And so we're taking it, you know, piece by piece, but we're really applying a holistic approach to how we're shaping development into the future in the county. The other thing that we really focus on, again, as a county, is that there's a lot of economic development going on in the county. And as a county where we have a lot of areas where there's plenty of density and some areas where there's not that much density, we're really trying to balance equity, accessibility, but also recognizing that as a majority minority county, there's also some persistent issues in terms of gaps, in terms of poverty, in terms of other challenges that comes with that in the county. And so our goal is always to make sure that we're highlighting those issues. We're talking about those issues. We're bringing the issues of accessibility, the issues of affordability, the issues of connecting areas, I would say areas of persistent poverty, or those patches in the county and other immigrant communities to affordable and reliable transportation. So that is really where we come in as a county and try to emphasize that we're taking care of some of the challenges that have been there historically, and making sure that the voices of the county residents are heard in, you know, in the planning process.
Thanks for that. So earlier in the presentation, Allison talked a little bit about outcomes. And one question that comes to mind for me is just how do planners plan for bus service that serves the most riders, while also trying to cover areas where people need transportation but might not use transportation as much? Almost kind of, how do you balance coverage versus productivity? I'm sure as we prioritize, there's some trade-offs. So what do planners think about in making these decisions?
I mean, you absolutely nailed it on the head. Like that is, and that's when I think about this project, we're not there yet. That's why we're going out to talk to get input about priorities and kind kind of what's really important to people, what gaps are there in the network today. So to kind of understand that, so that forms the basis as we think about what those networks, those future networks could look like. But we're using a lot of data that is both pre-pandemic, so like 2019, understanding where all the trips are in the region and what needs to be connected. We've also got census data, so that helps us understand the demographic, kind of to Yvonne's point, the equity, whether it's persons of color, whether it is low income, like where are those constituencies, like where are they locally, where are they trying to get to based on the trips that are making. So we have both 2019 data and we have 2022 data. So we understand kind of post-pandemic, which I'll put in air quotes, but that helps us really understand where people are trying to get to, and then help us kind of factor, all right, is there a lot of need like all day, all week? And so that's more that would be more the frequent service. And then trying to understand, maybe there are pockets that travel at different times and maybe need more service on the weekends or at different times of day that are not, your traditional peak. So I think a lot of that data is what layers in, but it's also then the public input about service and gaps that are missing today and places that people want to go.
Yvonne, somebody, did you guys want to add to that, or? All right. So I did want to highlight Stephanie's comment in the chat. And again, I'll encourage everybody, add your comments, add your questions and comments to the chat to kind of animate this conversation. But Stephanie pointed out that she lives in Forestville and she works in Foggy Bottom. And the major corridor there is, Marlboro Pike and Pennsylvania Avenue. And she has to take the bus to the metro station and then catch Metro Rail into work, which can take almost up to 2 hours, right? As opposed to 25 minutes if she hopped in her car. So how do we make the bus more? What are some things that we can do to make the bus more attractive for folks that do prefer to drive, right? Or especially in such a car-centric county, right, where a lot of folks are driving to get to their day-to-day things, whether it's work or the grocery store and such. What are some tactics and things that we can do to make driving just more I guess appealing?
Mm-hmm. It's really a question of competitiveness, right? I mean, Stephanie, that example that you have, like 25 minutes versus, an hour and a half to 2 hours, like that's just hats off if you were taking the bus, if that's the, like those are the two options you have, right? Because that's just not, that doesn't make it competitive, right? So we are really looking to understand, and this is where Raka's work with the county and with this SHA about getting, bus lanes, right? Or are there places where we have too many bus stops, or what have you, that we can really help speed up the bus, right? So there's that. There's also the wait time, right? So if that goes to the level of the amount of frequency, right? So if a bus is coming, maybe it's coming every 20 minutes and we can bring it down to every 15 minutes, there's a savings of, a couple of minutes. And the thing is, there is no silver bullet. It's not like suddenly we're going to be able to take Stephanie from her home to Foggy Bottom in that 25-minute commute. But there are lots of ways that we can really help to trim down where the bus is getting bogged down, or look for opportunities to improve frequency, right? So I think those are the two things. And I will say, going back, Kyle, to your previous question, a lot of people see bus. There's kind of the differential. Is bus a feeder to rail, right? And that's what Stephanie is experiencing, right? It's feeding from Forestville to Suitland or Southern Avenue, what have you. So, or is it really a standalone bus network that people are using completely independent of the railroad? And it's not, it's not 100% one way or the other, but really trying to understand the trips that people are making and want to be making, to help us figure out where the pendulum lands in that regard.
Yeah, Alison, and I'll add, Alison is 100% correct. One of the things that we are doing as a county is also, and we talk about this a lot, changing the perception about bots, and by really emphasizing safety. I think with changing, we're really working to change that in the county, so that again we can encourage more people to use the buses. And once we start doing, having a lot of high capacity routes in the county, the way the bus system is designed and the approach by which it's designed, it changes. I know like in some other jurisdictions, they have like Metro Extra, where you don't have to serve every stop. But again, it's a matter of market competitiveness. There's a lot of vehicles on the road as well. And so again, we have to work with what we have, but also try to improvise, find different strategies where the buses can move faster in mixed traffic. And that's where we have the priority treatments, where we're installing queue jumps or the red lanes that RACA is working on, as Allison said. But it takes a more collaborative approach for us to recognize what we can do, because there's only so much that we can do in terms of putting a bus system together. There's a matter of time and distance. But again, the number one thing that we try to do is really optimize and maximize our bus operations opportunities. And when we're talking about maximization and optimization, we're talking about those extra strategies that we have to implement to make the roadways faster, that RACA and her team are diligently working on. And so that is a process that we're currently undertaking. Some of it involves roadway design, some of it involves working with the communities, again, for them to understand what we're trying to do, get their buy-in so that we can implement some of these projects going forward.
Yeah, I'd like to add just something to this. Stephanie, I'm wondering how much of your time, that 1.5 hours that you're talking about, is spent waiting for your bus and then waiting at your metro rail station, because those transfer times is what really takes so long. And the cure to that would be more frequent service. But a little bit of that is also reliant on, are there enough riders along that corridor? So we can't just have buses coming every 5 minutes if there are 1 or 2 people on that bus. And so really any conversation that we have with boosting and improving bus service really needs the land use planners in the room. So just for just something to think about and also be advocating for.
Thanks for that. My next question, the next question is kind of Delegate Lewis at the beginning of everything talked a little bit about the Blue Line Corridor and the focus, the economic focus that the county is having in developing that. And RACA, you mentioned in your presentation just the Silver Hill Road bus lane that's up and coming. Can you guys talk a little bit more about what corridors in Prince George's County would benefit most from bus lanes and other measures to reduce delays and speed service? And then if you could, I think somebody mentioned in the chat talking about a little bit about protecting these bus lanes for motorists, right? And how do we how do we establish these lanes, but also, protect them from folks that might, hinder the benefits of having them. And so again, sorry, I know that was a lot in one question, but the first question is, again, like, what corridors, have we thought about what corridors in the county will benefit most from dedicated bus lanes?
I've thought about it a little. I can talk about it. Is that for me?
Oh, well, it's just for the group. If
Okay.
anybody has any thoughts or feedback.
Yeah.
So I'd love to see something down Central Avenue, but I'm a little biased.
Well, some of our corridors that we are interested in and looking at, and I think Metro bus riders would benefit most from. One of them is the T18 It's on Annapolis Road, goes from Mount Rainier to Bladensburg, and to New Carrollton. There's also, I'm looking at a map now. So Riverdale Road to East West Highway, the F4. That's another one of our major corridors that would also benefit from bus priority. And then, of course, there's the transit. I guess Prince George's County has the transitway corridor study. So all of those corridors. And then the University Boulevard C2, C4 connection, Montgomery and Prince George's connection. That's a major one of our highest ridership corridors as well.
What about from a deep? Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I was just about to send it your way.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say that we have the Route 1, which is the Route 1 corridor that goes right to it serves the University of Maryland, and then it comes right up on Riverdale Road into Tacoma. Those are like got a lot of potential in terms of improving bus capacity and really turning that into a high capacity bus corridor.
Thanks. It's another question that I think came from the chat as well, but in thinking about corridors and where we have the most density and highest ridership and low car ownership, one corridor I do think of is the Martin Luther King. I can't think of the Maryland official number for that, right? But I think somebody had mentioned just seeing folks from like leaving Target and having to sit at a bus stop that doesn't have any bus shelters, sitting on top of I guess a shopping cart as they wait. And that kind of thing makes me think a little bit about just how people perceive riding the bus. And I'll speak a little candidly, and just when I tell people I ride the bus, a lot of them are really shocked in that, they associate the bus with, just something that is not the most ideal. They it's kind of lowbrow it. I apologize, the lights are gonna go out for a quick second. But can you guys talk a little bit about how the perceptions around the bus in Prince George's County, and how you guys are kind of trying to shift that? I know we talked a little bit about that before, but did you want to talk a little bit about just the perceptions of the bus historically in the county, especially as we've sprawled and all that good stuff?
So yeah, that was one of our discussions, and for us to have a transformation, we really have to think about the future, and that's where it's important for us to have individuals participate in our focus groups, in our surveys, and really providing the input so that we can begin to shape the future of what transit's going to look like as we're moving forward. And the way we start in getting that changing those messages is through the various surveys with WMATA, through the county's initial survey, and just giving your input, responding and being a part of these conversations like you're doing tonight. It's going to take all of us to really change perceptions of, and it's not just Prince George's County that has had a negative connotation with riding the bus. It's also been a nationwide. My background, I've been in Delaware. I've worked in transit in Delaware. I've worked in transit in Lancaster, PA, and I was in Southern California. And it's just a perception of bus riders not always having a positive connotation when you're reaching out to businesses and wanting to expand your service lines. We're not really looking for that clientele. And that's not, like Kyle was saying, that's not the perception. We all ride the bus. I may not ride daily, but I ride on a regular basis. and my neighbors ride the bus. So it's just it's a group effort to begin to have the conversations and changing the perceptions.
I couldn't agree more, Samaya. Like it is so, I mean, we globally and across the US have underfunded bus dramatically compared to other forms of transit, right? And all the questions, I mean, I have the chat up in a separate window, but seeing all those questions about bus stops, right? And I think, you know, when I started at Metro 10 years ago, had the same question, like, why, you know, what about the bus stops? And the thing that's super interesting is that Metro does not own the vast majority of the bus stops in the region, right? We own the ones that are at our bus stops, our bus rail stations and bus loops, but all the other bus stops are owned by the people who own the roads, right? So having like really working with State Highway, whose, you know, real goal is to move vehicles, right? So they're not thinking about pedestrians, they're not thinking about transit, they're not thinking about those things as they, you know, as their goals and their performance metrics are all about vehicle, you know, moving vehicles through, you know, whatever that corridor is. So it's how we're working. That's why we've started the Better Bus Initiative. We get to the zero emission, the electrification of fleet that Janet brought up in the chat. We get to, you know, how are we really partnering with our all the street operators to really push forward on crosswalk, so it's not, you know, totally unsafe to get to the bus stop, right? Do you have, you know, it's shocking the number of bus stops that don't have sidewalks to get to them, and so you're standing in a puddle of mud, like next to the side of a road that has 55-mile-an-hour, you know, traffic. Like, we have not supported, and I don't mean we Metro, but like we collectively across America have not supported bus in a way that makes it something that people look forward to taking. Except Kathy, I think, in the in the chat, which I really appreciate. But I think that's really where we start, of just how do we advocate and make it, you know, when you talk about when you are going to talk to Prince George's County council members, or, you know, Delegate Lewis and his colleagues in the State House, it's, I ride the bus, and it's putting a face. It's not just like this, you know, faceless person who maybe rides the bus, but it's like, I ride it. Here's when I use it. It's my grandmother, it's my sister, it's my, you know, whomever, that you're actually telling a story of why bus is important to you. And it's helping to put color around what is something that just has been woefully underfunded.
Absolutely. And thanks for that. I did want to unmute Elena Pitt for a question. Elena, Cheryl, can you unmute Elena for us?
I'm unmuted.
Okay,
You were able to-
Elena, did I pronounce your first name correctly?
Yeah, Elena.
Okay, hey, Elena.
I just wanted to ask the question about the, sorry, let me rephrase that. So when it comes to the bus priority lanes, you guys have done several in DC and they don't have any barriers. And from what I've seen, motorists really have not been respecting those lanes very much. And so I'm just wondering why with this one for Prince George's County, it's not even being considered to do something like flex posts, or I don't know, I think somebody said cameras, but I know that might be a bit of a bit more of a lift to put in automated enforcement. But yeah, I was just kind of curious as to, I know it's tactical and it's supposed to be a pilot, but yeah, just curious as to why no barrier to keep cars out of the lanes.
Yeah, I think it's an additional ask. So people, you need the access to turn right for right turning vehicles. So you'll see, if you look at the concept plans, you'll see that you can't really, there are a number of spots where you have to allow right turning vehicles to go into the bus lane to turn. So you'd have flex posts for smaller segments. And also on the street that's fast, it's not going to last very long. So it really is an additional ask. It could be a future ask, which is the whole point of the modifications as we keep going, So we ask for the red paint first. And then when we come back to SHA and say, hey, look, people are driving in your bus lanes all the time. Let's try and do something to protect it. And then I think at that time, by that time, we'll have some more bus lanes in the region. Maybe we can start exploring automated camera enforcement, because right now, Baltimore has legislation allowing camera enforcement of their bus lanes, but Maryland in the DC region does not, because there aren't enough bus lanes. So Montgomery County is building them fast. If Prince George's also starts building bus lanes fast, we can eventually start thinking about cameras to enforce these lanes. But you are absolutely right. DC is just a classic example of how bus lanes really only work as well as their enforcement.
Thank you. And I think Bernard Holloway had a question. Cheryl, did you want to unmute Bernard? Hey, Bernard, are you there?
Hey, thanks, Cheryl. Thanks, Kyle. Appreciate it. Thanks, everybody. I just wanted to jump in with a question for DPWT staff, which connects back to both what Kyle was chatting about earlier, as well as Andre's most recent comment in the chat. Like, I think a really important part of this effort to improve the bus network in Prince George's, and I say this as somebody that like is a heavy bus user everywhere from like New Carrollton, like at the north, to like Suitland at the south, and from Largo at the east to like Capitol Heights at the west. So like I use our bus network in lots of different ways, and really am frustrated by, to Andre's point, the amount of connectivity and circulation that we have in the network. So I wanted to ask any of the DPWT staff, are there any plans to like introduce stronger circulator service around key activity centers in the county? So I'm saying like the Largo area would be a good example. New Carrollton's another one. There are other places north and south of there that we could reference. And then on a related note, just wanted any updates from Public Works, especially about the rollout of GPS on the bus. And I say that for two reasons. One, because just like Bus ETA that WMATA has as a tool for riders to know when buses are actually coming, having better GPS service would actually be an incredible rider benefit for folks that are trying to use the bus. And that's not something that people can currently use. And as a bus rider myself, I currently see lots of buses that are like trip kerning behind each other, like 1, 2, 3 minutes behind the next bus on the same route, which really defeats the purpose of trying to space out buses in the first place. And I just figure that better GPS would not only be a rider benefit, but could also be used as an accountability measure to ensure that drivers are maintaining headways and staying focused on what they need to do, and that system performance is acting the right way. So Simia, Ifan.
Yeah, Bernard, you're correct, and that is why we're doing what we're doing. You're 100% correct. We're taking a fresh look at what our bus system is and how we can improve connectivity and accessibility. So that is why we've started the PGC bus transit transformation initiative. It's going back, peeling the onion, looking at where our market. We're gonna do a market analysis. We're gonna do in-depth analysis in terms of transit propensity, like what are the areas where the opportunities, where are the areas of gap, and how can we fill those areas. So that is something that we're working on right now. We've put out a survey and we're encouraging folks to complete that, but we're gonna do a series of surveys, again, to reach out to the community, understand where the needs are, understand where the gaps are, and then work with WMATA to redesign the network so that we're connecting the key points of interest. And we're actually providing a service that meets the travel needs of our users. So that is something we're working on. On your point about GPS connectivity on buses, we have GPS on our buses. And we just implemented what we call the Clever Card system. We're still going through a few testing on some of the technology. We plan to roll out different aspects of the technology in the coming year. Because of COVID, a lot of things kind of slowed down. But now that things are getting back to normal, you'll see a lot of improvements in terms of technology use and making sure that we're reaching the riders either through text messaging or either through different bus arrival systems. So we have some systems that we're testing, and we're going to put it out there to the public in a couple of months or within the next year or so.
All right. So hold on, let me just see if one more thing popped up in the chat. The Napco redesign will be implemented. Oh, it's Allison. Okay, cool.
Yep. That was me.
Halima, late night service and special event service is also important. Yes, it is. I mentioned that a couple of times of having to rush to the last bus at 12:30 when the bars close at 2 or 3 in some cases. And if I can, rely on have a reliable mode of transportation home on the bus, I could definitely stay out later and have improve the quality of my life.
Yes.
And the economy.
Yes, and the economy, right? Exactly. So again, this is a really, really good dialogue and discussion. I did want, like I said, Rise Prince George's is an advocacy group here in the county, and buses are important to us, and as we advocate for better buses, what do you guys want to, WMATA and DPWT, what do you guys need from advocates in order to help you all do your job? I know you guys, the surveys one and participation, but can you kind of give us, close us out with something you want to leave us with as we wrap up? I know is that a weird question? Maybe a little bit, but what do you want to leave a group of advocates in the county with when it comes to the bus?
Allison, you want to go?
I know, I'm thinking oh God, I've only got a sentence to give. So I would say, this is a stumper, thanks, Kyle. That really, frequency is what drives ridership, right? I mean, we've talked about this in different ways. It's frequency and reliability. And so really making sure that when you're advocating, when you're talking to your friends, when you're talking to, communities, or you're talking to elected officials, it's really making sure that it's driving that. There was a question about free fares, right? And, it all comes out of the same pot of money. So the question is, if it's free fares, do you want free service if it comes every 60 minutes, or would you rather have had that money driving into service? So maybe it comes, maybe the service can come every 20 minutes and it's $1 or $2, right? So it's really making sure that what the reason people are going to take transit, and we need them to, from a sustainability perspective, a equity perspective, a accessibility perspective, that it has to be about frequency, right? Because you're not going to wait the hour and a half if you have another option. And frankly, everyone at some limit will have another option, will find another option. So I'll stop there. Raka,
I can just say, please keep asking for more service, more frequent service, and then ask for more reliable service. The more you ask for, we can get at least something for you, but you've got to keep asking for it, and that really helps us deliver.
And I think there was a comment to that. Is there a petition or something we can send to elected officials, or can you suggest who we reach out to? I would be more than happy to add my name to petition under documents. And Stephanie will definitely, I know the survey is a big feedback tool, but connecting with Rise as we advocate for things. Yvonne, did you want to share some closing remarks from DPWT, and like I said,
yes,
from advocates in the county in order to help us?
Yes, I think it's really getting feedback from the people who use the bus, understanding the needs of the riders. I think that's the most important thing. really knowing where the pain points are. And it's hard for us sometimes to know everything. So that this outreach and engagement, especially with riders, the people who use the bus, hearing from them, understanding their needs and expectations, I think it will go a long way to help us design the service that actually meet the expectations. So I think this is a great first with us, but we're hoping to engage you and Cheryl and the team more so that we can start talking to our communities and understanding their needs and understanding how we can shape bus services or the bus network in the county to meet very specific needs of very specific communities.
Absolutely, absolutely. And as we close up, I just wanted to thank Samaya, Raka, Allison, Ifan, DPWT, and Wamada just for all that you do. I know a lot of the times it can, not to say it's a thankless, it can be a thankless job, but sometimes we hear the loudest things when people are most upset, but you guys are literally the keep us going. And I'm just, as a bus rider, truly appreciative of the service that you all have been doing for our community. And I just wanted to thank everybody else who spent their Wednesday evening taking the time out to talk about buses. And we really appreciate it. It's not the most fanciest topic, but it's important. And so thank you all for joining us. Thank you for staying involved and being involved with Metro's Better Bus Initiative and Prince George's County's Transit Transformation Initiative. Please, please, please take these surveys. The feedback is so important. It's not going to go, your thoughts aren't going to go into some black hole. Clearly, these planners and thought leaders are taking this information to help provide better service for us. So definitely take those surveys, share them with your friends, and keep a lookout for our next event, which will be a December social, so that we can get together and nerd out and share our enthusiasm about transportation here in the region and specifically here in Prince George's County. And as we advocate for better transit and more walkable places. This event again was recorded and will be posted on the Coalition for Smarter Growth's YouTube channel. We'll send a follow-up email with the bus survey information and a link to the recording. Have a great, great, great night. Take care of take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and be on the lookout for that December social information. And thanks, Cheryl, again for all you do as well. Details will come out for that December social, but have a great evening, everyone.